Hello everyone and welcome to Azam Shah Weekly. This video is brought to you by my new course SwiftData Bootcamp, a comprehensive guide to building data-driven applications. Now this is a 9+ hours course on SwiftData framework. Let's go ahead and check out the contents. You can see there's a special pricing going on. The regular price is $119, but you can get it for just $89 if you buy it before 14th of December. Now, check out the syllabus over here. We're going to start with the new SwiftUI state management changes. Then you're going to go into getting started with SwiftData. Always good idea to just get started with something, right? So I'm going to go ahead and show it to you how you can do that. Then you're going to learn about one-to-many relationship, many-to-many relationship, understanding queries, dynamic queries, and also static queries, versioning, migration, persisting changes or like genre and filtering based on genre, which are enums, and also transformable properties, like if you want to store some complex object like UI color, how do you do that? Testing, very important topic, I'm going to cover that. Syncing with iCloud using CloudKit. Also integrating SwiftData with UIKit applications. And then storing binary data using SwiftData. So images, how to store images in SwiftData. And also migrating core data apps to SwiftData. So that's a lot of content, 9+ hours of content that you can get. Make sure to check out this course. The link will be right there in the YouTube description. So hopefully you'll enjoy the course, and thank you so much. Now let's go back to the video. So let's go ahead and continue where we left off. At this point, we can go in our app and we can say mow the lawn. We can add a new to-do item, and that works, which is pretty cool. You can say clean the car. Everything is working. In our previews, we are not storing it to the persistent storage, meaning it's just stored in the memory. All right. But in our real application, you can see that we are not passing in-memory true. So it is being stored in the SQLite database because that is a default store for our SwiftData application, just like core data. And SwiftData is kind of like a wrapper on top of core data. So the next thing that we want to do is we want to make sure that we can filter items based on whether they are completed or they're not completed. Now, in order to do that, it would be a good idea to show some sort of a segmented control. And in the segmented control, we can have a completed item over here, completed, and incomplete, or incomplete should be maybe the first one. Now, there are many different ways of doing that. I'm just going to go ahead and say enum, and I'll say filter options. And I will add the first case, which will be incomplete. Incomplete. And the second case will be completed. All right. Now you can change this to incomplete, something else like not done and done. These are just simply options. You can change them whatever you want. I do want these options to be iteratable, so I can go ahead and conform to the case iterable protocol. And they are also going to be selected. So I'm just going to go ahead and say identifiable. Okay. Now, in order to conform to identifiable, we have to implement the ID feature. And I can simply go ahead and say ID. We are going to go ahead and return filter options itself. And that is going to allow us to conform to identifiable. Nice and simple. Now, when we're going through this, like if I go over here, let's say right above over here, I can probably go ahead and create a picker, select filter option. It doesn't really matter, whatever you want to put it. The selection, this has to be bindable. All right. So for that, I'm just going to go ahead and create a new state variable. And you can call this anything you want. I'm just going to call a little bit more a little bit longer descriptive name, filter selection or selected filter. I mean, anything you want. So selected filter, and this will be of type filter option, and the first one that is selected will be incomplete, because I think you want to see the items incomplete, right? So that you can see, oh, these are my pending items. So incomplete. We're going to go ahead and change this over here and pass in the selection bindable. So I'm just going to go ahead and say selected filter. So this means that whenever you pick an item from a segmented control, it's going to go into selected filter option. And now in the content part, this is where we have to go and create the look of our picker. So we can go and say for each filter options. And since filter option is conforming to case iterable, we can iterate through these cases. Dot all cases. I'll get the option. And I want to display something over here. All right. Now, there are many different ways of displaying a title related to that. Like, I can go ahead and assign this a value, and you can use that. That's perfectly fine. Incomplete, you can do that. That's perfectly fine. And completed. Okay. I tend to, most of the time, and obviously this filter option will become a string, but what I do most of the time is I like to create an extension on filter options so that I can create a property like title. It's a little bit more clear. It's not like right or wrong. It's just the way that I do it most of the time. So I create a title property, or you can create a label property. This is completely up to you. Sometime you want to call it a label. And now I can perform a switch on the cell, which is switch on filter option. And if it is incomplete, then I can return some sort of a string like incomplete. And if it is completed, then I can return completed. All right. Now I can go over here, and since on the option we did create that property, the title, it comes over here, and you should be able to see those two options. There we go, incomplete and completed. Now this is obviously not a segmented control, but that's easy to fix because we can always go ahead and say picker style, and we can call it segmented. So now it's going to look a little bit nicer. There we go. And you also must select or set the tag. Now tag is basically the value that is actually selected. So whenever you select a particular option over here, like incomplete or completed, then this is the value that's going to go to the selected filter. So that's the actual value part. Okay, so we have this working, which is pretty cool. The other thing that we want to do is we want to make sure that the person can mark the item complete or incomplete. So basically we need a checkbox. Right over here, instead of just a text, we need a checkbox also. So I can go ahead and say command click, and I can say embed edge stack. And over here, I can use the power of these system name icons, and one of them is called a square, I believe, right? So let's go ahead and add an item so we have a better idea. Mow the lawn, and you can see the checkbox over here. Great, right? Now there is another checkbox that is the one with the actual checked item. So we need to take into account that can we even display that part, right? So maybe it is called checkmark.square or something. As you can see that whenever the Xcode previews are loaded, there we go. So it's removing everything from our previews because everything is stored in the memory. So now we have the checkbox also over here. So just keep in mind that the checkmark.square is the one where a square has a checkbox, and if you simply use a square, then that will be the one without the checkbox. All right, you can see without the checkbox. Great. Now what should we do, right? Once you have the image, which is simply displaying a square at this point, we can perform an on-tap gesture on that image, and based on that image, we can access the to-do item and isCompleted and toggle it. Right? So if it's true, it will become false. If it's false, it becomes true. And that's it. Now, even though we're toggling this, it's not really going to change where it appears. I mean, I can toggle it. Well, right now it's not even toggling. I guess you can see that. The other thing we have to do is, if you're toggling this, then we have to make sure that the ones that are toggled, meaning if they are completed, they should not show the empty square, they should show the checkmark.square. So we can check over here, to do item dot is completed. If it's completed, then show me a different thing, which is called checkmark.square, else you will simply show me the square. Now I'll go over here and I type something, and there we go. You can see that I can actually toggle between them. This is a check mark and this is not the check mark. But what we really want to do is not simply to do the check mark part, but whenever you complete the item, it should go to the completed. But it's not really doing that right now, as you can see. So how can we make this happen? Now again, there are many different ways to fix this. What we can do is we can expose a filter to do items property, and that's going to return you a to do item. And we can call this we can substitute our to do items with filter to do items. So whenever the body is reevaluated, it's going to call filter to do items also. So we can just go ahead and say filter to do items. All right. And based on the selected filter, if it's incomplete, then we will get the to do items and we will filter it out. And we will only select where the is complete is equals to false. And obviously for the completed ones, we are just going to make sure that the ones are actually true. And that's all you need to do to make this work. Let's go ahead and check this out. So I'll go ahead and say mow the lawn. So I'll add a couple of different items. Let's say clean the car, and then let's say feed the rabbit, and also feed the cat. So I've done feeding the rabbit and the cat, and now you can see both of those things are appearing in the completed items. I can always go to the completed item and uncheck this, and then it will automatically goes to the incomplete. All right. So clean the car, all of them are completed. There we go. So you can see that we are able to move the items around. Right? So there you have it. I mean, we are able to do that. We are able to filter based on our selection. We added a checkbox or a check mark, and we can filter it based on incomplete and completed items. You can run this in the actual simulator, and it will work exactly the same. The only difference will be when you add an item, it will not go away. I mean, if I go ahead and save it, you can see it kind of goes away. So maybe in the next lecture or the next video, we can also look into that. How can you provide some sort of dummy items to your previews? You know, because it's kind of painful to go over here in the previews and write it again and again. So you can create properties or that can provide dummy data to the preview. So that is definitely possible. All right. So we are going to look at that also in the future. But hope you have enjoyed this. And once again, if you want to learn more about SwiftData, then check out the link to my complete course. That's like a 9+ hour course, and that's the most comprehensive course that is available out there. So make sure you check it out before the deal is not going to last that long, as I mentioned it earlier. All right, so thank you so much. Like the video, share the video. Thank you.